did 10 grand in 15 minutes. Me and Al were like, we're on something here, this is big, this could be really big. 2023 plan is to, how do we scale that to, say, 50 million? What's our next step to do 50 million profitably again?
Brand Buildr is a holding company that holds all of your e-commerce brands like CRAFTD and other things that you've built.
One of the reasons I did want to leave the agency world anyway was because a lot of our clients were e-commerce brands and they'd have, say, 20 people doing 25 million, something like that. I just wrote back and saying, that's it, I'm not coming back into this office again, I'm done, that's me finished.
You said it left you in a massive hole at the point when you'd lost that 480 grand.
Yeah, I've got no time pressure at all. It's like, these three things need to be done by the end of the day, that's it. And I could do them in 2 hours. And all of a sudden it's just, I'm there for the team, I'm there for questions and answers.
So you put £500,000 into wine this year.
Wine outperformed, watches, crypto, any stock investments I've got, it outperformed them all. I'd rather have a business doing 5 million unprofitable than 20 million unprofitable because of the stress that goes along the way.
Quick one before we jump into this podcast, do me a solid favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe and drop a comment below this video. If you're looking to remove images, videos, search results or fake accounts online, go to contentremoval.com, but don't take my word for it. Here's Hormozy.
Frank, you're a legend. I just saw this. Layla also thinks you're a legend, which in my mind means you're which means you're a double legend in my mind. If you get my wife to think you're a legend, then you're extra cool in my mind. Dude, thank you so much, genuinely. That was such a pain.
Guys, we are back and I'm coming to you live from a fresh location in Manchester, bringing you all the best guests, and I'm telling you now, this one is going to be a banger. Today, we have the legend himself, Danny Buck, who took Brand Buildr in 6 years from 0 to 120 million, with a 20 million a year profit with CRAFTD. Mate, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to your home. Welcome to your humble abode.
Welcome in. You're one of the first people to see it. It's pretty new. Different location for us. I think we've only been in here about 8 weeks, so yeah, welcome.
Mate, it's no secret that intro was a bit of a mouthful for me to get everything in because I'm trying to cover so many things that you've done. Now, obviously, Brand Buildr is the holding company that holds all of your e-commerce brands like CRAFTD and other things that you've built. I kind of want to take people way back to when to how you started and everything like that, because obviously you started with a marketing company that first generated you revenue and profits before you started to go into e-commerce. So just give me a bit of an insight into how you obviously started in business and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it goes back to kind of when I was at university. I started selling things on eBay. It's one of the, must be going back here 16 years or something mad like that, maybe 15 years. It was 16 years, Jesus, that's gone. And we're selling stuff on eBay. We're selling fake Hugo Boss wallets or imitation Hugo Boss wallets. We said they were imitation, all that sort of stuff. And we just used to sell them. We were selling about 30 quid. I was making about 6 quid, something like that on them. And then and this was kind of like my first experience with e-commerce anyway. And what we got to the point where I could pay my housemates £1 per every order for them to take them to the post office. So we built this little system. We had a supplier, we had an e-commerce website, which was eBay at the time, and then we had fulfillment, if you like, which was the team in-house, which was there. And then it made something daft like 6,000 quid at Christmas. I was like, this is brilliant. I came out of university and then I was like, right, I want to work for a web company, or e-commerce was so fresh at this point. I think I was actually at the very start of e-commerce. I think around that point, eBay was kind of like one of the only websites. I'm trying to think if there was any others at this time. And my intention was to just work for like an online company. I ended up getting this job off my brother-in-law, which was maternity cover. I was like, I'm a business student, I'm going to walk out, I've got definitely like 25, 30 grand a year job easy because I've got a degree. Like hit me like a salmon in the face. I think it was like 14 grand or something like that was the job I ended up getting after applying. And this was for maternity cover, and it was in customer support. So I did that. And then I found that the girl I was covering, I could do a job in 2 days, what she was stretching out for 5 days. It was just customer support tickets, that sort of thing. And this was for a software company, which had a web division, they called it. They didn't even have like web marketing. SEO wasn't even a thing at this point. Yeah. So I kind of did that, and then I started trying. I was like, well, I've got free time. I've got 3 days a week. Can I do something else? And they just said, well, why don't you start selling support packages and see if you can upgrade people to support packages and hosting. And so I started doing that, and then started hitting a sales target. And then the MD at the time, so my boss was my brother-in-law now, and the MD was another guy, and he was just like, oh, why don't we just move him into sales and cover customer support with someone else? So we started doing that, but I got into a position where I was more like, I wanted to be in product development. I was like, well, this thing called SEO is emerging, and there's this company in Liverpool, and they're doing mad numbers on SEO. Why don't we look at SEO instead of just websites?
So you're being like taken away by all these different shiny objects at the time, like, and it's getting your creative thinking going.
I think so. It was more a case of, I could see the revenue, so I could like say, right, so we've got support revenue and we've got web revenue. It's like, but you get ongoing revenue for marketing, web marketing. So once you built the website, it shouldn't just be £20 a month for hosting or whatever. We could get thousands by doing marketing services. And that's what my degree was in. So I was trying to say, well, let's see if we can do this web marketing thing. It was SEO, and I think it was very early stages of paid ads as well, paid search. But the MD just said, I've got zero interest in it. I don't want to rock the boat on this at all. And I was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it. Like, I actually put like a proper case to them and everything. And I just thought, I'm 22. I'll just give it a go on my own. I just said to them, I'm gonna just leave then, fine. It wasn't like a throw my toys out the pram. It was just like, I actually really believe in this. So
what was the moment that trailing revenue thought came into your mind? And because how did that come about? Because obviously trailing revenue and having subscription revenue in terms of this over a long period is obviously what is the golden chariot, isn't it, at the end of the day? But that's something that dawned on you as an employee? Yeah,
so it was more a case of, so let's say that I can't remember the sales target, but let's say it was 10 grand a month. I thought, well, I could get that with the recurring revenue, and it'd be a lot easier every month to hit that sales target. So it was that kind of trail of thought. I was like, well, if I can get 10 clients paying £1,000 a month, then the sales target's hit for the following month.
Yeah.
So it was more that way of thinking. And it was a lot easier to sell, I thought anyway. It was a lot easier to sell marketing services because no one knew how to do it. Whereas a website back then, selling a website, especially an e-commerce website, everyone saw it as a threat to their physical store. So it was difficult, but luckily there was some mad funding around at the time, some EU funding, and I could go into someone and go, we'll do your website, it'll cost you £5,000, but I can get 40% funding from this EU grant. So they were like, oh, sound then. So I could sell those quite easy. But the main kind of jump was when I decided to leave, and then my brother-in-law said the same thing. He said, well, if you're leaving, and it does sound good, let's give it a go. He left as well, but we were 2 of the 5 people in this division, and the MD at the time was just like, you're totally screwing me over. But it wasn't that at all. It was like, we're just leaving because we wanted to.
You wanted to better yourself. Yeah.
So he said, you're forcing my hand. We'll have to look at options. And then the chairman, who was the MD's dad, said, he kind of came at it a bit more like softly and said, right, actually, would you be interested in buying the division off us? So I'd only been there maybe 7 months or something like that at this point. And I found myself doing a management buyout of this web division. It was about 120 grand. My mum and dad lent me 10. We lent some off Graham's parents, and then the rest we financed.
And for 120 grand, what were you essentially buying? Like, how much turnover were you buying?
The turnover was, I think it was about 150,000, but it was 150,000 of contractual revenue that we got. So that was like, say, I don't know, like 12.5 a month, something like that. That's what we were buying. But if we kept it after a certain amount of time, that carries on. But what we then got is we got the opportunity to upsell those clients to websites and marketing and things like that. So that's what we bought. But the main thing was the client base. That's what we got. So they got their revenue. But their thinking was, if these 2 leave, that all the clients will leave anyway. So it ended up being quite clean. But what that gave me there straight away, I was a business owner at 22. I'd done a management buyout, so I understand the banking process. I had debt to my name, and then it was just a case of, right, what am I earning here? And it was, I think my salary went up a little bit, but I was in that salary mind frame at that time rather than like I wanted money out of the business, which that changed over time. But it's more a case of like, I want 100 grand a year. That's what I want, rather than I want to build something to sell. And we ended up building this business from myself and Graham to 105 staff in about 8 years it was. And that was on the Wirral. Went to the same place for 10 years, the same office. And that kind of got me to my next phase, which we'll go into shortly with Bramble. I got in this mindset, so it got very corporate. So imagine over 100 staff.
100. What's it like having 100 staff when you?
Nightmare.
Yeah,
absolute nightmare. Yeah, just not for me.
I think staff has been one of the biggest pain point. Like I've always had growing content removal. Yeah. It's like constant. Like when you get someone to do something and then they don't do it, and it's just a nightmare. Obviously, I have a lot of staff overseas. I mean, you had a physical office where there's 105 people in a location. Once you get past, I think it's 10, 15, you need HR, don't you? So
yeah, it was more there's a few issues. So it's like having a really close team, I loved. So I think it was about 20. After 20 people, it started to change. But that 20, they were brilliant. Everyone was in. We'd go for drinks together. But it became a point where I think we had a board of, there was 2 boards, a strategic board, which was the shareholders, and then an operational board, so that's there was 8, so 2 boards of 4. And the operational board would hire people. So then there'd be people coming into the business that didn't know me and I didn't know them, and they'd just be walking around the office. And I'd be like, hi. And they'd be like, oh, hi. And then it's just like, it just felt weird. Like that was a company that I started like on my own, 22. That was like, and it felt like the whole culture had been just torn apart. And then...
And it's kind of been done by you in essence, really, when you look back, because at the end of the day, you've obviously tried to separate yourself from the business by putting in the operational team. Yeah. But then by putting in the operational team, you feel separated from the business, right?
Yeah, I know. And we still go. My role in the business was sales. We sold like Magento websites, and again, like marketing, we had 2 divisions, website development, which is all e-commerce websites, and then marketing, which was SEO, PPC, the very start of Facebook ads. And then we started to dabble in influencer marketing just at the time I was leaving, but yeah, I made the call to leave because we brought in a CEO, myself and my brother-in-law. We kind of clashed along the way, as you do, over that sort of amount of time. We had different visions, and I wanted to start going into Shopify development because I thought it was coming, but the fees were a lot lower. So it would have meant that we would have had to sack some of the staff. But I think, well, we get to this point but I believe we got into a position where the web division had the most staff and was unprofitable. The marketing division was really profitable, had less staff. And it would have been a lot easier to do a marketing company than sell Magento websites because they're an absolute nightmare. You get like 150 grand or something like that, but when someone's spending that amount of money with you, it's got to be perfect. It took ages. People wouldn't pay certain bills until it was certain things were done, and anyway, nightmare. So we made the decision because we had these different visions to bring on a CEO. In the first year, with bringing him on, it went really well. But then when we gave him equity, this is my version of the events. When we gave him equity, he turned at me and said, "I don't like working with you." So it was too late at this point. He's got equity, and I was like, right, okay, why? And you don't come into the office at the same time we do, all this sort of stuff. And I was like, I go to the gym in the morning. That's what I do. It makes me feel good. I'm hitting my sales target. We're like, why does it matter?
How much equity piece did he have in the business at this point?
So obviously myself and Graham were 50-50, and then we gave. It got to the point where it was really bad. I think he had 35 and I had 37.5. So I still had more, but he had a sizable chunk to
put that. That's when he started to tell you about yourself. Yeah, essentially
to be poisonous. It was bad. It just didn't work at all. The dynamic started to go bad, and then I felt like I was being ambushed by the other two shareholders, and we made a decision. We bought an app company. It didn't work out. That one started to go sour. It just went bad at the end. I started getting these things which we call love letters now, which is like the board meetings would be kind of hostile. It would be arguments. So then they stopped. We didn't really do them anymore. And then when I'd go on holiday, I'd get like 2 or 3 days in, I'd get an email saying all the shit like that you don't like about me and all this, and it obviously spoils your holiday. And I was like, you've got to stop doing this. This is spoiling my time, my downtime. And then it got to the point I got the third one. And I just wrote back and saying, that's it. I'm not coming back into this office again. I'm done. That's me finished.
It's a highly toxic environment. But if there was some advice and guidance that you could give a lot of the people listening to this that have businesses that might be thinking about bringing in some of the senior team as equity partners, what would your advice and guidance be on them doing that in their businesses?
It's just the person. I think it was a core, like it was down to visions, clashes of visions, views on work ethics, simple things like being in times in an office, just views on life, really.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to align yourself with people who have the same views on life. And every single business partner I've got now has the same view on life, and that's a big thing for me. Even the staff, the team, they have to have the same philosophy, which is a multitude of fitness, freedom, hard work, enjoying your work, social, all of that's like different things. I think that's the main thing. But it was petty things, like I say. It's like I'd rock in at 8:30. Like 8:30 still very early. It's an office, like just a boring office. I'd turn up at 8:30, having gone to the gym at 6:30 and feeling great, and then walk in and someone's been in since 7, and they're going, "You're not working as hard as me." And it's just like,
it's
I come
a
in,
dumb mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'd do my work. I'd go sign up a 150 grand client in an hour, and then I'd be like, right, I could technically, I've done what I need to do now. I could
for the
go
month.
home. Yeah, but I've got so sales target was 330 grand a month, and I could sit there. I could do that. I could do that. I could go and like a couple of days later try and do another one, do some marketing deals, all that sort of stuff. Could do it remotely if I wanted to, because it's just on the phone. But if I didn't get in at 7 and leave at 7, I was deemed not as hardworking.
And you're an owner of the company, and other people in the company are looking at you like that, and you're the owner.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of mad when you actually think about how that works out as a structure. You know what I'm saying? That you get into a structure like that. Obviously, that didn't all happen in one day, though. That happened over a period of time. Yeah. Wasn't there any signs along the way when you were giving away pieces of equity to this other person that you were making a catalogue of minor 1% errors?
No, it was more. The only shared vision was that we wanted to sell. So we was building something to sell. That was a shared vision. But when it got to a point where it didn't sell, because the figures and the valuation, all that sort of stuff, what didn't match the where it was, and then we had an offer, and for some reason, because I was leaving, even though I'd set up the business, I was getting 40% less than the other 3 shareholders. It was just like, this just doesn't work. It turns out I just did a deal with the board, signed it off, and I was happy with what I was going to get. And 3 months later, that board put that company into administration, and I got fuck all. So it left me and Amy in a bad place.
So they started another company.
Yeah.
And
just marketing to close what the suggestions that I was putting to the board of closing the development division. And
then they closed the company that was that's a hard pill to swallow, right?
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't. It's a family member, and everything's fine. We're really good friends. We actually use them now for our brands and everything. Everything's been sorted out. We've kind of done that bit. That's good. With the other shareholder, that will never be repaired. But the part from us. I think the deal, I think my equity was worth, at the time we were going to sell it, was worth, say, 1.3 million or something like that. It was worth about that. But when, what the deal I did was for about 480,000, but I got 60. So I got 2 months of 30,000, 3 months of 20,000 is what I got. And that was, so this leads into the other journey. So I was, one of the reasons I did want to leave the agency world anyway was because a lot of our clients were e-commerce brands, and they'd have, say, 20 people doing, say, 25 million, something like that. And they were like fast fashion brands or...
can you name some of those clients back in the day?
Yeah, I think I'm friends with some of them, actually. Public Desire, Ego shoes, they were 2 fast fashion shoes. We worked with In The Style.
In The Style did well, didn't they?
I think if we worked in any other in the fast fashion space, we had one client, which is a finance company. I can't name that actually because it's NDA, but their turnover was 2 billion, and they used to give us. They just set e-commerce websites up all the time, so that was a great client for us. Then we worked with a really cool client called UK Point of Sale. I was brilliant friends with them. They were a massive client for us, and it was just marketing strategy. But these people are doing, like, I was doing the digital strategy for them, and they were doing mega money with smaller teams. So I was like, if I'm doing the digital strategy, surely retail can't be that hard. So that was my whole plan for the follow-on business. So,
but I presume that the point you're trying to put across here to everyone is the fact of, like, you're saying that you saw that the model that you were in wasn't the right model to take you to where you wanted to get to, essentially.
I think I was just done with it. Agency is amazing for cash flow. Yeah, was on a decent salary. I did the whole thing, sports cars, all that sort of stuff, going on holiday as much as I could. But it didn't get me to where I wanted to get to the big money. So like as I say,
what's big money in your world?
100 million, I think sort of level would be like. But I didn't think like that at this stage. I think I was 30 at the time, so I wasn't thinking like 100 million then. It was more my equity's worth 1 million, let's say 1.3 million, somewhere around that figure. And you know, you can spend that money quite quickly, I'm sure. Like, and if that was the end of it, like, if all I knew was agency, the last thing I wanted to do was sell that and then start another agency. I wanted to get into the branding world. I wanted to get bigger turnovers. I wanted to experience retail because I'd always been involved in e-commerce. I just happened to have got into the agency side rather than the brand side. But I'd learned so much. I'd recommend to anybody who wants to get into e-commerce, do a few years at an agency.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy Hills said something similar from
Hairburst.
Hairburst.
Jimmy's coming on. Yeah, Jimmy's done phenomenal with Hairburst.
We've got a similar background. I think he works for an SEO agency, but you learn so much just from that side. Even if it's a year or 2 years, just even if it's unpaid, just let you get in and just work with clients and just understand and listen. And it was so good for that. That was the best part.
Because I suppose you get to, by working in the agency for someone else, which I didn't do. I set up my own agency, so I had to learn it on the job for myself from day one.
Right.
I only worked in sales in an agency previously, but I suppose by working in the technical side of an agency, providing the skills, you get to see where the clients are having like grey areas and other stuff like this, where they're having teething problems, and you can look at that and assess that in your business when it comes up and say, I've dealt with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's way better to have kind of seen something than seen nothing. So is that your advice? And just for everyone who wants to start in ecom, just to literally go out and do agency work first.
Definitely would. It's obviously what's been my background, but yeah, you just get clients will open the doors to you. They'll show you, like, you get to look at people's Google Analytics. You get to see like the channels that they're using. You get to see if it depends on some clients, but you understand like gross margins, and you get such a picture for the marketing department of that brand that it just, and even like down to the product level, the bits that you don't know is kind of what's the next part of my story. But you don't learn the supply chain, you don't learn customer support, you don't learn all like product selection and the whole retail part. You don't learn that bit, but you can learn. Yeah, you got to research that too. But I just think a year in an agency would do you way more than a course or even starting your own brand, because you will, unless you're very lucky, you can really fuck up in the first year.
I just want to dive back into that. Obviously, when you said it left you in a massive hole at the point when you lost that 480 grand.
Yeah. But I didn't, lost the future income of a 400. I didn't it wasn't in my bank and then it went. It was more, so let's say I leave the agency. I think my salary was 250 grand a year, so I leave that. I then done a deal which I get 20 grand a month, which I'm paying capital gains, so there's only 20%. So it was a bit nice bit of cash flow. So I've got that coming in. I've got my mortgage. I've got my car's Amy's car. And
you live in that lifestyle because you're the agency guy, and you were living for cash flow at that time. So obviously your lifestyle reflects living that lifestyle, right?
That's it. So then we did the deal in October, and then I think like Christmas passed, and then in January got the call. It's going into administration. There's no more money. Right. At this point, I'd already started my first brand, which was Circular, which is a watch brand. I'd got debt, so I'd got I think a 50 grand loan off one company, because I had a history at this point, so I could get loans quite easy. I'd accumulated I'd signed deals with influencers for a 12-month deal to get them off another watch brand. So I'd committed to pay these people 15 grand a month. I'd paid out 100k. It was the liability was about 300 grand, and I had no money coming in, and I had zero income, because in the first year of the brand, there's a difference in mentality versus salary to building. You don't want to be taking a lot of cash. So I found myself in this position where I had a 300 grand liability and zero income. So me and Amy basically thought we were fucked, and I had bills to pay, mortgage and cars and all this stuff which had accumulated, about 5 grand a month.
So I presume at this point then you're feeling kind of like you sat there and you're looking kind of to the outside world, you're looking like you made it. But on the inside, you're feeling totally different.
We were just fucked. That January, I can't remember the year now, was it maybe 16? maybe, about 16, something like that. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Maybe 16 or 17. At that point, we're skint. We're skint on the, I've got a F-Type R on the drive, and Amy's got a Mercedes, and we've got a nice house, but we are technically cash flow skint, so we have to find the money from somewhere. So we had this mentality, which we always, when we sat down and Amy would flap, and we'd be like, what the fuck are we going to do here? And we just kind of had the conversation. Well, literally, if it goes to shit, we've got some equity in the house. That was always it. If it goes to shit, we've still got some equity in the house, which had built up over time. So what happened was we just got our heads down. I set up a thing called Buildr. This was just a consultancy arm for me. So I was like, right, just found the name.
So you used that consultancy agency play to get yourself out of the cash flow problem.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So we had all we knew was Circular had stock liability and influencer contracts to fulfill. So we knew we had that, and then we had a liability which we need. So we had our monthly wages as well, which we need to do. Sorry, not monthly. Monthly house and car and all that sort of stuff, and that was about 5k. So we said, well, let's try and get to the point we get 5k consultancy.
Yep.
And that was it. Brand Builder was set up, consultancy side, and I was like, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this new thing where we do like Zoom. It wasn't Zoom, it was Skype-based consultancy calls. So they tell me about the business, I go into it, and I had Circular running. And in all honesty, those first 4 or 5 months of Circular, because we were spending so much on influencers, everyone thought it was doing amazing. And because I had the consultancy, I couldn't go into the truth of like how bad it was. So I wasn't lying so much. I was just saying, because it was doing good numbers. I was just doing like, I think in its first 3 months, it did something like 20 or 30 grand or something like that. It was doing all right, but that revenue wasn't profitable. So although this is why I was saying that I hate the revenue thing, like 100 million in so-and-so, but like if there's no profit there, I'd much rather have a small profit business now, learning what I've learned, than the big, the big revenue things.
So you know how you just said there about you'd much rather have a small profit business, a small profit, than a large revenue number. Can you? I really want you to break that down for this audience, because I want to understand your thought process and what you've learned from that. Yeah,
if I conclude the Circular thing, it will come to that. Actually, it'll come to this when we started the second brand. So so basically what happened was we did the Circular thing anyway. So that was on the surface, social media. Danny Buck started a brand, did 30 grand in its first whatever I can't even remember what it was now. And then we had the consultancy. So I started doing consultancy clients, and this took me from January to June-ish sort of time. In the meantime, we had a holiday booked for my mum's 60th in October, which we paid for up front with the money we had. It's my mum's 60th in March. So in this period of having zero money, we ended up in Mexico for my mum's 60th. And it was all inclusive, all that sort of stuff. So luckily, no costs. But we sat there, and me and Amy, I was doing consultancy calls whilst I was there. I was doing content, like this lifestyle of running a brand whilst you're away, all that sort of stuff to bring clients back in. I feel like I'm not one of those toxic like fraud guys, because I actually had a pedigree in marketing, so the clients felt they got value. I did these things called Brand Builder plans, which were like business plans, which I charged 250 quid for, and then I got the ongoing and did all this. Anyway, we got to a point, it was after that holiday, we started to get a bit of momentum on the consultancy side. But whilst we were in Mexico, Amy, there's a picture I took it of Amy staring at the sea, and then she walks back from this staring at the sea, and she said, I wonder whether a jewellery brand based on the ocean would work. And just like, it was like, right, what do you think? She just said, well, what if we just did it just to cover our wage? So it's not like a multi-million pound brand. We're not going for like 8 figures, 10 figures, all that sort of stuff. All we're after is something which stays underneath the VAT threshold and makes enough money for us to pay ourselves. I was like, that's a good idea. That even if it made 2 grand, that would help towards consultancy part and all that sort of stuff. So out of that came a brand called Honu, which launched about two months later. And it was basically jewellery, which is ocean inspired. So wave rings and turtle rings and palm tree stuff and all that sort of thing. And it pretty much, from the first day, made money, that brand.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, until last year, which I'll come to. But it pretty much made money from the second. And that allowed me to stop the consultancy. It paid us. That overtook maybe I think we were getting about 6K a month. So I didn't have to do the consultancy. So I stopped doing the consultancy because that was the time-consuming thing. And what I did was I carried on the brand builder plans, which are the business plans, because they work really well. And there'll be people, if I share this podcast, people who would have had a brand builder plan. And I believe in that because it was very good. It was basically all my knowledge, and then I'd apply the main sort of funnel and then I'd customize it to each person. And that was it. We charged 250 quid, sell 10 to 20 of them a month, maybe even more in some months actually, when we had a brand builder podcast, all that sort of stuff. And then that was let's say it was 2017, that was my 2017. So it was running Circular, which is unprofitable, and subsequently getting myself in even more debt. Honu, which was paying our personal bills, and then the consultancy, which was pretty much paying for our fun. So us going out places, all that sort of stuff. End of 2017, we're back in the game. So we are in a position, we have nothing tangible, nothing to sell, if you like, but we've got cash flow again. And as you'll know, you're as happy as your pockets are sometimes. We weren't in a good place, so our motivation was down and all that sort of stuff, but we dug deep and we got in, and then as soon as you get momentum, all of a sudden confidence is back. And along that journey, I was sharing about started sharing everything on Snapchat. I was sharing the Honu journey. Look how we're packing these orders. We've done this influencer. Look, it's got 500 orders off this influencer, blah, blah. And my business partner, Alex Cannon, I think we followed each other, and he said, I love your philosophy on freedom. Do you want to chat? So I was like, great, okay. I think I actually had it in my head to meet him anyway, because I wanted him to promote Circular. So I did. I got there. I hope you don't mind me saying this, actually, I gave him 500 quid cash there. And I was like, I know you charge more, but it's some cash we do as a post for Circular. And he was just like, this was in Yo Sushi, and he was just like, and then we agreed it anyway. We agreed a deal, and that was the first time we ever met, and then we kind of relationship went from there. Had a beer, and that was it. And then next time he just messaged me saying, I've got an idea. Do you fancy meeting in Nando's in Liverpool? And he said, I love your concept about this, building brands, freedom, all this sort of stuff. I've got an idea for a brand. And he told me, and and off he went. And at the end, he just said, so do you want to do it then? I was like, oh, you want to do it with me? I thought you were just saying you wanted to just do the brand and you wanted me to just do your plan or something. He's like, no, let's do it together. And this turned out to be CRAFTD. And he had thoughts of this men's jewelry brand, which there was no cool jewelry like you had at high street retailers, let's say. And they would I bought a chain when I was 18 from a high street jeweler, but there was no cool jeweler. There was no influencer. There was influencer based one or social based one, if you like, which cool people would wear. And it was just, we didn't know this at the time, but it was just at the bottom of the curve. It's just starting to rise. The men's jewelry space was just starting to rise. So we built that one. I actually packed those orders myself. The very first CRAFTD orders, I was packing them in a box room in our house in the Wirral. Amy was on one side of the room with a desk, and I was on the other side with another desk. She was packing Honu, and I was packing CRAFTD. And then, Alex would do the social, he'd do the product design, and then I'd do the fulfillment, if you like. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I loved the orders, hated the fulfillment. I just didn't like it. You do it, you take it to the post office, all that sort of stuff. It was fun handing over a bag to the post office, but packing the orders, I'm a marketer. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
But I suppose everyone should pack their products before they send them to 3PLs, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I think you need to understand it, which is fine. I did it for 4 months or something like that. I just didn't like it. So I think that was it, because all I wanted to do, the ads, I wanted to do the e-commerce strategy, the digital, all the stuff that I'm used to, and everything that makes kind of brings in revenue, but nothing that kind of packs the product and stuff. Yeah, the operation. So at this point, we just decided the best thing is to put. So Circular was already in the 3PL at this point, but we just said, right, let's get CRAFTD in there. Let's do it. CRAFTD did, I think we did a first drop which
because you're doing limited pieces, weren't you?
Yeah, so we thought let's sell out, let's do that sort of strategy, which is just ego stuff. We did this thing, and we I don't know, maybe made 20 grand or something like that on launch, and then when we bought properly and did our proper drop, which I think was drop 2, it did 10 grand in 15 minutes, and we were like, me and Al were like, we're on something here. This is big. This could be really big. It was in a 3PL at this point. And from that, it did 1.7 in its first year, crafted. It then went on to do, I think it was 7 in its second, then 11, then 15, and 20. Now let's see where we're at now. But
and what's the profit on that?
It's high. I don't disclose it totally. You can get what you want out of company's house, but the reason, so we have the profit is higher than normal. It's higher than most people's profit, and there's a reason for that. It's not because of the product price. It's because of our operational layer. Right. So our gross margins are similar to what you'll see in clothing, you'll see everywhere else, but our operational layer. So the way that we run the company, we have spread resource, we outsource a lot.
I want you to break this down.
Yeah.
I want you to break down how the structuring and how people can make it more profitable in theirs, because I think it's game changer.
Well, firstly, we don't use any agencies unless it's something we literally can't do. So web development is an example. None of us are web developers. So I do all the Facebook ads with another guy. We acquired a TikTok agency, so that's kind of a part. It's building an ecosystem. So this is all development of what's happened. So if you kind of go along the journey, I've had an agency, I've then had a brand, I've then had another brand. And we've got a fourth one now. But I've then realised actually we can have a holding company which becomes an agency to support all the brands.
It's interesting how you suggest people start an agency, because obviously you know how great a cash flow it is, but you won't use agencies yourself because you know how much margin there is on the agency.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? And that's where the e-commerce brands get hit in it. If you've got a creative energy doing your creative, and then you've got someone running your e-com ads and all this kind of stuff, you're soon paying a lot of money, thousands in fees before you even break even.
Yeah. So there's lots of there's strategic decisions. So the average tax we'll pay in America will be, say, 6 versus the average tax in the UK will be 20. So we've got 3PLs in America. We'll distribute in America. A lot of our marketing efforts will be in America because we make a little bit more over there. Doesn't change the quality of the product. That's always being redeveloped. The cost and stuff. It's just how strategic we are. So there's strategy in geography. There's strategy in having a core team which supports multiple brands. And again, that's same with creative. And there's only 3 main costs: product, operations, if you like, which is like customer support, that sort of thing, advertising. Yeah, that's that. So I'd say our main cost, obviously forgetting taxes and stuff like that, but our main costs will be operations, 3PL, customer support, internal operation, product, and advertising. And
when you say the structure benefits you, I presume what you're talking about is you've got your customer support team will support all the customer support for every single brand, and that's kind of how you're talking about structural stuff. Yeah. Yes,
that's it. Now, so that's got us to a point. Now, no one expected Crafted to do what it's done. That was the first thing, because that is a very small and mighty business. It's now become a big business. So our 2023 plan is how do we scale that to, say, 50 million? What's our next step to do 50 million profitably again? You should never lose on profit. It's one of our philosophies. Like, I'd rather have a business doing 5 million unprofitable than 20 million unprofitable, because of the stress that goes along the way. And there's a lot more. So we're looking at different distribution channels. That requires staff. So we are making a decision for growth on that brand.
Do you position brands like Crafted into places like Amazon as well?
No. Nowhere online which would be a threat to us. The only ones that we'd consider are like a Selfridges or a Reese or someone like that, which have their own customers, have their own audience. But anywhere which is going to be people would shop on that. Why would we give away 15% to Amazon?
The only pushback I have on that for you that I would like to get your thoughts on is the fact of I was speaking to other big e-com owners, and they're saying that in order to get a higher multiple on the sale of their business, they have to diversify the channels.
Yeah, our version of that is looking at distribution and looking at wholesale. But owning the customer for us, our CRM is so good. So our email marketing, that's another reason we make so much margin, is because we don't, our channels aren't tied to just Facebook. A lot of brands will just be Facebook and they got stung with the iOS 14 updates. Our CRM is fantastic. So constantly launching new products, constantly looking at incentives to get people to buy again, campaigns around different calendar dates, all that sort of stuff. We can't do that if they're with Amazon. We can't do that customers with Amazon.
Is there any particular software that you're using that most e-commerce brands should use to kind of, is it like HubSpot or what?
No, it's Klaviyo or Klaviyo. I think everyone would be using it. It's how we use the tool. I think that's
just to make sure it's fully optimized. I've seen Klaviyo because obviously like everyone that has a Shopify store using that, exactly. to run their email marketing, and the follow-up sequences you can program into that is unbelievable.
That's it. Yeah, it's that. It's SMS, email, obviously your different ad platforms, organic, social, creative is a big part of it, which makes you stand out. Something which I actually wanted to talk about, and this is my buzzword at the moment, is I feel like there's a lot of, going into Ecom now, so like the story's done, but like the Ecom side of my views on it, we've got people that think they have to build a brand before they build a business. So if you have a business, that can get to a certain level of turnover, maybe 10, maybe 20 million, without being a brand. To become a brand, you have to do things which, in my opinion, lose money or doesn't make money, but can develop the brand. So last year we had a big brand play, spent multiple 7 figures on brand, and that's podcast sponsorship or outdoor things or whatever, like to do things which don't bring in revenue.
But also pushes client touches, like in terms like if you've got to have 7 touches to make a sale, you're getting 3 or 4 touches from different podcasts, creative and all that stuff. Yeah.
Now the interesting thing is, last year we didn't make that back in profit. We know we didn't, and we've changed strategy this year and put it more into a diversified paid structure, a direct response structure, and we're 45% up on last year already this year. And we're doing no brand, if you like. We do a couple of podcasts and stuff because we like the people, we like the faces and the representation. But the brand stuff last year didn't work. But this is where I feel like there's a bit in between this. And no one talks about style. So I feel like CRAFTD does so well because of Alex's creative direction and his style. So the style of the creative, the look of the creative. So you can
even the tones of the colours and the way that you position the colour palette on CRAFTD and the brand is done well.
Yeah, it's down to but the tone of voice. So like people call it branding, and there's obviously different forms of like what you interpret. So my view is what people say about your brand. That's branding. So what other people say. But with this, with CRAFTD, and then what literally we've just done a rebrand or restyle of Honu is to do with the style. So like I feel like you can lose your way with style, and that's literally who's wearing the product, what does the image look like, what does the website banner look like, what do your emails sound like, what do they read like, when you've got all of these touch points across different senses, and it's a style which makes you different. You could have the same products as somebody else, but the style identifies with a person. And they go, oh, that's my style. So like with CRAFTD, we've got people who wear it that have got, especially Alex, some of his mad shirts, like he'll have like Casablanca shirts, all these stuff. People go, that's fucking cool. I like that style. I could wear chains like that. So they choose us on style, not necessarily product. Product is primary, but style is secondary. And with Honu, we lost our way with our style. We were an ocean-inspired beach brand. And if you look at the social, I think they've deleted some of it now, but like because this year we changed. You look at it, and it lost its way. There wasn't people at the beach on the feed anymore. There wasn't people at the beach on the website. The products aren't really beach-like. And I feel like if you know your style is your niche. So you can attach this part to your brand, your business, all that sort of stuff. And that's all that it matters. You don't need to go heavy on brand values and all these things. Like people can get lost in these. I think Nike, they need brand values because they're a different beast altogether. Apple, all these people, all these people read these books, and I've been one. I've thought, right, I need to build a brand, but first you need to build a business. And I feel that if you can attach a style to a business, that kind of gives you a brand indirectly without branding cost.
Yeah, no, I actually fully agree because I've seen so many people go down this rabbit hole of chasing. They'll read Peter Thiel book 0 to 1 or something like that, and they'll read all that and they'll think about building this mammoth mammoth beast of a business that looks like an Apple store at the front end, but doesn't make any profit on the back end. It's no good to you. It's like you need to focus on where the money is first, and then also, extrapolate that out and see how that looks, and then add. I suppose you have a style board essentially to kind of at the start. Like, how are you doing a style board? Are you doing that is it like a Pinterest board that you do, or is it a full?
I think it's your niche. So if you look at, we've got 3 jewelry brands now, and we looked at each one and go, right, so the jewelry market's massive. Do you want to be male, female? Do you want to be unisex? Do you want, like, what do you want to do first? Okay, so you take like CRAFTD and Honu, the 2 biggest out of them, because one of them's brand new. So you got one which is like, right, so one's male and one's female. So you look at CRAFTD and you go, right, male jewelry market, is it big? It's growing. Is it saturated by loads of brands? No. Okay, so we can be generic. We can have a style, but we can aim towards multiple different styles. Female jewelry market, saturated. So you need to stand out. You need a micro niche attached to it. So that's why Honu's not just a female jewelry brand; it's a ocean-inspired female jewelry brand. And all you need is 1,000 loyal customers that'll tell 10 friends you've got a business, which will go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, the 1,000 true fan method.
Yeah, you don't need to set out and go, right, I'm starting this, I'm going to be the biggest female jewelry brand in the world, or I'm going to be the biggest men's fashion brand in the world. I'm going to do it in 1 year. And you get people they'll buy fashion, like a domain name, ridiculous, like spend 25 grand on a domain name. They'll then go out and get a mad agency, London agency, and spend fortunes on images and colour palettes and all this sort of stuff. And you're just like, wow, so you're minus 150 or minus 200 grand. You've not even started yet. And what they're doing is they're not building a business, and they're going, well, we'll do the best products we possibly can, and we'll make 10%. And it's not. You've got to understand the unit economics of what makes a good e-commerce brand, attach a style to it, and then grow slowly, I think is my advice at the moment, especially with the costs.
Break down the unit economics for me and how that works, because essentially what percentage margin should you be getting on these kind of products?
Totally varies on product. If you do, you could go. I mean, you could give me 10 different examples and they'll all be very, very different. But you need to make enough gross profit to make enough net profit. That's basics of business. You've got to consider in the countries you're selling in and the VAT you're going to have to pay. You've got to consider the cost per acquisition from your advertising channels and what's that going to be. You've got to consider your lifetime value and the average order frequency, how many people are actually going to buy. Can you afford to lose on your first order, but you make money on your second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever?
Yes, are you selling something that could be repeat purchased, so you can lose, a few quid on the front end to be able to know that person's going to buy again and again and again, and you're going to make it up on the back end. And how many sales does it take essentially for you to break even before you're in a profit?
Yeah. But saying, like, I would really encourage people to go back to the mentality we had with Honu. With CRAFTD, I wouldn't say we got lucky, we put ourselves in a good position to get lucky. But with CRAFTD, it took off from day one. That's rare, really rare. We had the right products to an emerging market. We had Alex's amazing style, amazing product and creativity. I had my background in e-commerce. We had 2 of us come together and it just boomed from day one. But Honu, that didn't have those things, and we decided we were going to start really small. It did under the VAT threshold in its first year and made, let's say, I don't know, it was, like I said, it started in June, so made us 30 grand, probably something around 30 grand profit off, let's say it was under 85 grand, so maybe it was 80 grand. So that's more, and the way that I always encourage people to think is, like, if they want to quit their job to start a brand, work out what their take-home wage is first and make that the profit and go from there. Don't go in the mentality that I'm going to get all these, because I've done this, get loads of loans and go nuts on all these different things, and it'll just end up totally putting you on the back foot. You lose your mentality. You're under pressure. You're not thinking about growth. You're thinking about survival. I feel like that's a better way for people to start in e-commerce. Do the agency thing, start a small brand, go slow, know where you go. No, like, putting it out, I've done £1 million on the first day. There's plenty of people that do that.
Yeah.
But I could do that. I know exactly what I could do right now. I could make £1 million in 1 day, but I wouldn't make any profit.
Because your metrics at that point are all driven by ego. You know, you're not getting driven by the true numbers on the back end of actually what's going to make you revenue. And also, if you grow that quick, you're talking about a trajectory that breaks a lot of stuff real quickly. Yeah. Right. So everything breaks. Your email system will break. Your CRM will break. Your packaging and delivery will break. Everything will break if you scale from that in.
Bank will break. Yeah. It's the cash flow is obviously the big one. You've got to understand your order timelines, and then getting into a negative cash flow cycle, negative cash conversion cycle. So getting to the point where your suppliers will send you the product, and you can sell the product before you have to pay the suppliers.
Right. Yeah. I've never even thought about that.
Yeah, I think Gymshark were the main guys who did it first. But so all of these things.
So how do you structure that?
Good terms with the suppliers. You can get finance on it if you want to give away margin, 3% or something like that. There's all sorts of different ways you can do it. But the main way is get really good terms with the suppliers and have a product which can be made and ship in a 2-3 month max. So let's say 10 week period.
And I suppose you pick products from the products that you pick, that you always pick small packet products. You don't really go for.
I do, yeah. I know the cost of postage, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the weight and stuff like that. How are you going about sourcing the products and making sure that you get the right suppliers that can obviously fulfill the
It's been done over time. So the best way to do this, everyone says, how do you find a product? Well, first up, the products need to be something that you actually care about, give a shit about.
So they have. So you're saying you have to do a product that you care about.
You have to either do a product you care about or a style that you care about. So a style or brand which there's a niche, there's a micro niche or a worldview that you actually care. You actually are passionate to say, I own a brand in the so and so niche, or I own a brand in the so and so market, or whatever you want to call it. Because for me, like, men's jewelry, although I don't wear loads of jewelry, I like the bracelets, I like the style, I like the accessories thing of it. Obviously, they're great. It's a great e-commerce product because it's like being small and stuff like that. But it's low return as well. So all of these things, when we pick the products, we do it. But Craft is just a brilliant brand. Honu's just a brilliant brand. I love not necessarily the product side. I'm weak at product from what I've learned. That's why we, with Circular, got Leon Scott involved as creative director. He owns half the brand. We've got a really exciting opportunity. I can't say a word about it, but we've got a really exciting opportunity with Circular coming up, which hopefully comes off and you'll be able to see. But Leon does all the product design. Alex does all the product design. Amy does all the product design. And then with Astalia, which you've not talked about yet, Taylor and Derby, they do all the product design. And
you and obviously because you now identified what you're good at in the business, you can all just go into stuff that you're actually genuinely good at and not start to stress about all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Exactly. Because it's so important then the self realization of what you can actually do and what your strengths are, isn't it? Like how is there a moment in time where you've actually kind of sat down and assessed what you're actually good at and kind of positioned yourself along the brands, or have you just found your way through that?
So it's been organic, definitely, because I thought I was good at products. I was doing the picking Circular watches, and then realised nobody orders 2 watches. They order 1, and then that's it. So we kind of learned that product side, and then I got Alex is just fantastic at product. Leon's fantastic at product. Amy, when she's inspired, she needs to be by the sea, which is what we've just done. Honu didn't have a great year last year because, in a way, Amy fell out of love with it a bit. She just lost innovation for products, which is very, very important. You can see if the brand owner, the product side, loses interest, loses motivation, it's game over.
Yeah, and I suppose like with a sea, living in Manchester and then having a sea inspired product, it's kind of like hard to.
It rains here.
Yeah, it's hard to get that momentum, isn't it?
Yeah. It sounds like an absolute. I don't know if it's just a rich man problem sort of thing, but it worked. So when we were in Bali, Amy was back inspired. She's by the sea, drawing new products, and then we just got back from the Maldives again. If you look at last year, so Honu lost money last year. It's the first time we've ever lost money on a brand. Lost money, and you look at it, and we didn't launch good products. We lost the style. There's loads of different things that just went wrong. So it's like, right, what are we doing? What are we doing here? What's happening? So Amy said, I'm putting a lot of pressure because we wanted to go to the Maldives anyway. Like that's my view on business is I like because of that office like going to the same place every year. I like to travel. That's my thing. That's why I don't invest in a few things, but my main reason for work is to travel. That's what I like to spend my money on. But yeah, so we're going anyway, but Amy's like, right, I'm going to use this as a proper inspiration trip. Like, you can't get better than Maldives, literally by the clearest ocean, beautiful sand, all that sort of stuff. And I'm not kidding, as soon as we got the seaplane, as soon as she got off the seaplane, saw the sea, immediately a change. And it was just amazing. It's brilliant to see. She's just like, oh, we could do, what about this? What about this product? What about this? And then notepad comes out, sketch pad, starts drawing all these different designs. And it's
perspective, isn't it? Yeah, it's really
that'll make more money this year than the Maldives cost. So you've got to ask yourself, like, again, it sounds like a really stupid thing, but like, if that makes us a couple of million quid this year, how important is it to go to the Maldives for that specific reason? Like, for me, that's vital. Like, you could say that to the wrong person and they'd be like, you fucking arrogant twat. But it's not that for us. That is literally, Amy sits in this kitchen and stares at the wall and is not inspired. Or we go to the Maldives, look at the ocean. Next thing, we've got 5 new collections this year, which make a fortune, keeps people in jobs, and it's vital.
I mean, we were talking before the podcast, weren't we, about, it's like even this beautiful house that you're in now. It's like, I think if you're probably even happier in the apartment than you were in the house, in essence. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a funny one, that. So like our lives changed when we moved around here. So we lived on the Wirral, and Wirral's a beautiful place. Loved it. We lived there for 7 years. Lovely people. But the council has it that they're not investing in it. There's bowling greens that people want to build on. They want to make nice things. They want to like pedestrianise villages, bring in like all different markets, restaurants. Want to make it good. But there's a lot of people that just reject it. So we realised that the economy there wasn't going anywhere. I'm from Manchester originally. I've been trying to get Amy back here for 10 years, 15 years, something like that. We finally picked an apartment in Alderley Edge. And we went over, moved in. Beautiful place, rented, never rented before. We were renting this. And from like when we got in there, it's such a beautiful apartment. Things just started to like change with me. Like we were sharing a building with professional footballers, England players, like big names that I won't say because I don't want to share where they live. But and we had go to the pub and we'd see like professional Man United players, Man City players, and just around like one of the richest families around here. All these people, and they're all great people. I know I've said like, oh, it's dead fake around Alderley Edge, all that stuff, and then. With them, we're just kind of, we're in an apartment building, which is kind of like a big hotel. You have a party and reception, all that sort of stuff, like brilliant. And we met these people, and perspective started to change. You're just like, well, everyone's just the same. Everyone's brilliant. Everyone's like, there's a lot of people in here which got a lot of money, but everybody's super cool. Everyone's dead friendly. We go to the pub together, go on walks together, all this sort of stuff. And then conversations start to happen. So next thing, before we know it, I've met a guy called Michael, and Michael is now married to Derby. So Michael Jackson is his name, is married to Derby Ward. And Michael was brilliant for me around here, didn't know anybody in Alderley Edge, took me out, we'd go for drinks, all that sort of stuff. It's like, where's good for a haircut, he'd send me here, all that sort of stuff. And became like my first like proper friend around here. And as we were talking, and Derby's like, oh, I want to do this brand, and me and Taylor have got an idea for this brand, and I was like, just listening, I'll help you, whatever you want to do, I'll help you, no problem. And then next thing they said, well, what about if we did like a more premium jewellery brand? I'm thinking, oh, this will be good. This will take off. It's big connections. They've got a brilliant reach, really good eye for design. Like their family's all interior designers, got a big interior design company. I was like, oh, can we handle another one? And we just worked it out. Alex came on board as well, Alex Cannon. We did the company stuff. It took a while to get going. Taylor was pregnant at the time as well, but the designs, the sketches, and we just made sure we got it right, and then we launched in October last year. Incredible launch. And now it's up there. It's profitable every day, and this is the thing. We don't want to. So the same philosophy all around. Nobody wants it to be 20 million year one. It's let's get profitable, let's grow, let's add categories, let's find the style, let's grow and grow and grow.
And you don't care whether that's like 10, 20, 30 grand, you just want it profitable.
Yeah. All I care about is profit. So the way that the company now operates is on, the brands are all individual, brand builders in the middle, and Brand Buildr makes its cash off profit distributions. So this is a way of building a holding company. So as long as CRAFTD and all the companies, they make a profit and they pay their corporation tax, that's legal. And then the profit, then we decide what do we want to take. So it makes 25 quid. We go, pick an easy number, makes 20 quid. Me and Alex, me and Leon, me and Amy, Taylor Darby, we split that profit. And that's it. So the idea being, you create a holding company with a lot of cash in. If I put that in my personal account, which is why I hate the housing side so much, if you put that in your personal account, then you pay tax. Obviously, it's personal tax. But whilst it's in the holding company, I can do investments. I can build, like I said, invested quite a lot in wine, which is all in France. It's not, I don't store a lot in the house, just what I want to drink in the house. And you can do different things. Bought a plot of land, a big plot of land, which has got like housing stuff. It's not my scene at all. Kind of wish I didn't do it. But that I use that. So create brands which create profit, pay into a holding company, build the holding company. Use the holding company to make investments, and that you get future cash flow.
I love it. And you protect yourself because obviously can't be sued because you're 2 steps removed from the actual brand itself as well. So people can't take cash off a brand where there's no money in the actual brand. It's all in the holding company, isn't it? So kind of protects you that way as well legally.
I wouldn't, to be honest, I'd never thought of that. But the main thing for us now is I want to get to a point where we can build to sell. Not brand build, that will always be mine. It's the brands themselves.
Yeah.
It's building them like houses, basically. It's getting them to a point where they do have their own team. They can operate individually. If someone's to unplug them from Brand Buildr, they could be plugged into whatever ecosystem someone else has got.
So in essence, then, just to break that down even further, what you've done is you've built this holding company, built all the brands separately to keep them highly profitable. You've ran all those brands through one centralized team, so centralized customer service, centralized marketing, centralized this. But now in order to build them to sell, you're gonna revert them back into putting in positions in them for their own team, so they're ready to sell.
Yes, when they reach a size, because there's certain people in there which now they spend more time on one brand than another, and the truth is, like, it is nice to have a core team of just one. So like, I can think of other people as well, but I can think about multiple things at once. Like I can do Facebook ads for all the brands I still do, and I love that. If you take that away from me, I'll be bored. Like I actually love that form of work. That's what I do. But there'll be some people that just want to focus on one, and that's fine. I get that, and there's including like some of the team, they want to focus on one. That's brilliant. It's no problem. Just do that, and we've done that now for some team members, and that's it. Because we've been approached by, I think, not last year, the year before, we were getting approached a lot for CRAFTD, because people were saying like, how are you growing still? Like, because they'd been hit by iOS, and how are you doing all these things? And I think it was product market fit was definitely a part of that, and we grew really well. But I think for us, it was the wrong time to sell. We spoke to people, we got different valuations, we got people in to value the company, all that sort of stuff. It got valued at nearly 70 million. It's a big deal. We could sell it. But I feel like it's got more in it. I don't know. It feels...
Sometimes though, as an entrepreneur, it's like knowing when you're holding on too long in it, and knowing exactly when to sell, and knowing that the only person that'll ever know that is you.
Yeah.
Like no one can tell you that. Like no one sat across you can tell you when it's ready. But obviously, like you're either going to make a big win or a little bit of a mistake and sell it a bit too late. Like
my non-monetary goal is I want to be in the club with the Pure Avidas, the Movement Watches, the Gymsharks, the Shopify brands, because I've been in e-commerce. That is my career, e-commerce. Yeah. I talked to you about wine, football, e-commerce, and nothing else. I'm boring after that. I've been in this game now since the start. I want my trophy. So it's what that trophy is. You know, Movement 200 million, Pure Avida I think was 160. These are dollars.
I think on the trajectory that you're on anyway, you do the 200 million anyway. On the trajectory you're on without selling anything.
Need to do a lot to get to that value now. I think D2C's got people think D2C's had its day, and there's a few things which, you know.
What's the for and against for that comment? Like what's
iOS 14? A lot of brands are they grew so fast off Facebook ads, and it's 20-30% more expensive to do that. So if you can't afford that, you've lost a marketing channel, which is your main growth channel. It's the next wave of e-commerce, I think, as well now. So TikTok's coming. We bought a TikTok agency last year, 50% of a TikTok, mainly ads agency, but a bit of organic sort of thing, because that's a threat and an opportunity. So TikTok, if it keeps going and takes ad spend off Facebook, and we're crap at it, then all of a sudden our competitors who might get good at it, we've lost market share. So it's covering our backs there. But the main way that we use TikTok at the moment is to offset the increase, and it's something I'd encourage other brands to look at. We've done, the scale isn't there on TikTok. So let's say we'd spend, say, 20 grand a day on Facebook. We could spend maybe 3 grand a day on TikTok. But the cost per acquisition, if you get it right, is a lot cheaper than it is on Facebook. So you can bring the two down, the average of the two down. So Facebook's increasing, TikTok's lower. You can still maintain a CPA if you do the right strategies, and that's something that we've employed. And that's worked quite well for us. But the energy required for TikTok is ridiculous. You need fresh creative weekly, which is something we struggled with at the start. So to do ads like Facebook, we've had, I put out, no, people don't know this, and it sounds like a bit of a dick move, but like I leave ads live on Facebook, so our competitors think that they're good. So because you can copy them in the ad library, so just leave some of them live in like a little campaign. But we've had other ads running for years on there, but you can't tell which ones are working because of the way that I leave them. But on TikTok, you can put an ad up and it'll be like, fuck, this is brilliant, and then 10 days later it's shit.
So you leave ads running that lose money?
They don't lose money. They just don't do that great. But I leave them on because we get copied left, right, and centre by different people. We have brilliant competitors that I think are absolutely brilliant, and we have awful competitors that will literally do a bad version of Alex. There's an ad, a green next ad, which we leave live just because it's funny to see the versions. But we get people in like different European countries, all that sort of stuff, and they'll just do a really, really bad rip-off version of that ad. We just find it funny, but we're at our best when we innovate. We always say that.
How do you keep yourself away from looking too much at other people and looking too much over there and getting involved in what other people are doing when you're trying to have success for yourself?
Discipline. It's the main, because you'll see a competitor and you'll go, wow, that's good. That's good. And like I say, there is ones that you respect. They go in their own direction, and that's cool. That's okay. But for us, it's like if we hear like people talking about it in the office, it's like we're not them. Do you know what I mean? It's we're us. We have our own style. If you were to put all the big jewelry brands next to each other,
you'd clearly see
we're different. It doesn't mean we're better or worse than these. We're just different, and that's something that we're like the buzzword this year, style. Like CRAFTD has a style. We could have a person wearing just a plain black t-shirt and have a really thin chain, or we could have a Casablanca checkered shirt with layers and pearls and all sorts of stuff. And that's a style. That's like a confidence thing. And that we feel that we are, like, if we were to use brand words, one of our things is self-belief and confidence. And that's what we feel we get. There's other people which are more street style. There's other brands, like just totally different brands, maybe a bit more like Gen Z style. But for us, if you look at an image of, I believe we've got to the stage now where if you can't see the jewelry, you can tell it's crafted. I believe we're at that stage now.
It just amazes me how, because I remember another podcaster, him wearing just a teddy bear on a necklace. Like you'd never,
Chris,
and you just knew straight away that was a crafted piece before, without him even mentioning what it was. Just because, like you say, it's a presence, isn't it? Like you've created a presence in the marketplace so that people can actually truly feel what you do. Because like when you're saying when people wear a piece of jewelry, you want them to feel like it's putting on like a superhero cape type thing, like putting on confidence, putting on self-belief. Is that essentially the feel you've gone for? Yeah,
and that style piece which I was talking about. So the guy you're mentioning there, he fits the style. He's incredible mind, focuses on his body. There's a few like areas, like if we look at the person that we see crafted in, it's like you craft your body, craft your mind. And he fits that bill. You see other people, other podcasts that you've seen people on, again, they fit the bill. Like, we're not going down the route of just picking anybody who we think is an influencer or anyone that we think is someone might have 5 million followers but won't be crafted. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you have to have a certain look. It's the hair, it's the hat, it's the jawline, it's everything, isn't it? Yeah, and I see it from the models and the aesthetic that you're going for, and the tones and everything.
Yeah,
it's really important though that people don't get lost, like you said before, with this beach brand, and start going off down all these different tangents, and find out you've not posted a piece of content with a beach in 17 years. Like, do you know what I mean? It's crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? But I suppose when you look back at mistakes like that, it's easy to identify them looking backwards. But sometimes when you're in it, you need to get out of your location, i.e. Manchester in this case, go somewhere else so you can actually see something from a bit of a broader perspective.
I think it's important to know where you're motivated. And I mean, it's great. I love this house. Like, it's a beautiful place to live. We've designed it to a degree, how we'd like it to be. But we, as people, like to not settle. So we like to travel. We like to be in different places, like to see different things, taste different foods, meet different cultures. Bali was a big part of that. The first time we went to the East, and we learned the way the Buddhist, the Hindu sort of style of living, and how do I help you rather than what's good for me. It just massively changed everything, totally changed perspective. Who doesn't love just walking around? The only thing you've got is a pair of shorts on. You've not even got shoes on. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just walking around like all day, and at night you put a shirt on and that's it. Minimalism like that. But I don't know if you're the same, but that's when I'm at my happiest, because I'm not thinking about, what will that person think about this shirt that I'm wearing, or like, what about that person if I turn up at that time or that place, or I'm seen at this restaurant or not. All of these things kind of become irrelevant when you just sat there and you're happy, and the only thing you've got to think about is the view. And I don't know, I find that inspiration. Like, I have this memory of going to, it was Corfu. It was just a place in Corfu we went to in the last 5 years, and I got up at 8 o'clock and no one else was up. Went, sat, had a coffee. I was just looking at the sea, and it's just me and the barista person, and it was like a bar. And I had my laptop, and then all of a sudden, I was just like, I just felt the ideas, and I rebuilt this whole Facebook funnel. I ended up writing a little guide on it, and just did the whole thing and rebuilt the whole thing. Just sat there, just came up with this like way of thinking. Just did the whole thing in like an hour and a half, and I was like, where the hell did that come from? I didn't set out to. I just set out to go and just answer emails or something. And so I found that when I'm next to the sea, peace, the morning usually, with a coffee, obviously not booze. All of a sudden it just comes here. So now I know that's my.
You're killing me saying it, because obviously I spent 8.5 years of my life in Australia, and it's my favorite place to live. But obviously I want to bring people, guests like you, in person to drop like some mad wisdom come out on this podcast so far for the people listening.
Good.
And I, because it's all just dropping in my head as we're speaking through this. But for me, it's like I kind of have to find a balance of where I can have the piece that you're talking about, because I love it over there, but I also have to come and do the podcast that you want to do as well. Yeah. So it's like it's like you're doing it with a brand, I'm doing it with a podcast. Same, right? You're trying to balance that lifestyle so you can have both. Because I suppose there's some things you like about being in the UK as well.
I love the UK. Yeah, I was born here, Man United.
Yeah,
the food scene, London mainly. Yeah, I mean, the UK is great. In summer, it's incredible. The people are great. For me, it's the winters. I can't deal with the winters. So that's the main reason. January, particularly, retail's crap in January. So we just have a process that we do. We have the same thing. All the stores, all the brands encourage all the team to go away, have a break, because Q4's intense. And then January. So we'll do mainly a week or two before Black Friday. We'll go somewhere else, Dubai or something just get some sun. Then we'll knuckle down until the end of the year. Obviously do Christmas, do New Year, and then it's get away. And now I'm back here, won't we, on February, come back here. Starting to get better now, going into spring. So I would live up. I'd do it again. Mentioned him twice now. He definitely owes me something. But Jimmy, the way he does it, I think it's brilliant. 3 months in the UK, and then he's in Bali, he's in Dubai. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Hill's lifestyle's awesome too. We're going to do a podcast soon, and I just think the way he structured it all, you know, he's flexible. He's in Dubai. He'll be in Bali. I think he's going to be in there till probably like April, and come back. Be in London 3 months.
Just going around the sun. I think that's the way to do it. Look, I think obviously London's super busy, but I love it. We go to London for a week every month. That's our thing this year. We're going to try and do that unless we're abroad. The opportunities down there are ridiculous. I was there for a week at the start of January. And
what opportunities do you see in London?
For our so nothing at the moment as that I've done I can reveal. But I had meetings with professional footballers, ex-professional footballers, the biggest YouTubers in Europe. All these people they're in London. So like, I can't meet. If you just want to bump into them and have a coffee, I can't. I'd have to get a 2-hour train there, have a coffee, and come back, sort of thing. You've got to be in there, and then after that, the success of that, I decided what I'm going to do is just book. It's cheaper for us to book a hotel for a week than it is to rent for a month in London. So a nice hotel. So we do that, base ourselves, Soho, Knightsbridge, somewhere around there, and then just put out on social that you're there, do a few meetings, maybe do a couple of podcasts, all that sort of stuff, and then just watch the opportunities roll in from that. But last time we were there, it was just incredible.
I'm thinking about doing something obviously the same, obviously based myself where I'm based in Peterborough, and then obviously, you know, like you say, a week, a month, I can be in London.
Shoreditch, Soho, the people there now. Yeah. I'd just do that. I'd book a hotel, Soho or Shoreditch or in between, and then I'd just announce you there. You're doing the podcast, set up a room. That's just like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it because it was reactive. It was more like, oh, you're in London. I'm in London. Do you fancy a coffee? It'd be like, fuck yeah. Like, but if I was up here, that wouldn't have happened.
It just goes to show like the importance of one, like building the relationships that we both know to build, and also like the location, because even when you were back in, you know, Manchester, in the centre of Manchester, living in that nice place, you've put yourself in a position where you're surrounded by the right people, you know, so these opportunities present themselves. A lot of people that may listen to this may be saying, oh, I want opportunities. Yeah, but are you putting yourself, if you're in Australia living in the outback, or if you're living in some bum town in England or this and the other, you're not going to be surrounded by the infrastructure to be able to meet these people. You know, you've got to be in these affluent areas to get around these people.
I think it is a privilege to be able to do it. I think there's some people which, you know, they can't do it, and that's fine. There's ways to try and do it. Social media, try and move it along digitally. But if they can, and if you can, I really believe physical. So it's something I got from my father-in-law. He's like, he's not a technical guy at all. Does a bit now, but like emails, all that sort of stuff. Massively successful property developer, develops a massive retail park around here, which everyone knows. And he said, like, I just don't get why people sit behind desks. I can't get it. And he had a flat in Mayfair when I think it was before myself and Amy were born, and maybe she was around actually. Obviously, before I was around, she would have been young. But there's all like he was just saying he'd have lunch and dinner, a bottle of wine at lunch, bottle of wine at dinner. But those deals that would get done over those lunches was just like, again, it's like putting himself into the capital from Liverpool, putting himself into the capital to get these deals done, which you never would have got physically from there. Obviously, the technology was a lot different then, but you know,
there's a lot to be said for face to face.
It's old school, but it works.
This is why I like to come do podcasts face to face, because I love the conversation. You know, you get all the essence in the build up to the conversation, plus the pre and the post interview, what me and you can talk about, and now we're in the position after talking for like 2 or 3 hours to be able to go and, you know, we might have a deal to do in 5 years time, 1 year's time, who knows? Like there's deals that could be done, but because we've built that relationship and put the time into building it, right? So I think face to face is a no brainer, and I don't know why a lot of people aren't positioning themselves to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a big loud bang on your mic there. I think I think environment is a big thing, no matter what. It's cliche. Everyone says it about your 5 friends or the 5 people you surround yourself. Environment in general, for me, it's motivating. It's opportunistic. It's good for the soul. It's good for the brain. Like it's everything, I think. And we know, I think if you can learn what different types of what you're looking for, really. If you're looking for some self-belief, what environment's going to make you believe in yourself, like doing these podcasts, you know, confidence. The very first podcast I did, I was crap on camera. Like I'm not saying I'm good now, but like I don't go, I think I've been on camera now 10 times or something. I think I'm a little bit better than the first time. But the first time I was stuttering, I was nervous, couldn't think, you know, all of those things. Like, so you put yourself in an environment, if you want to get more confident, you've got to do more things which make you more confident, which these sorts of things or whatever people like to do. But I think for opportunities, we talked about going for somewhere physical, and for me, motivation is where I find motivation is through travel. So even on a plane, I wrote a book on a plane once on a 10-hour flight. I wrote, I've got a book which is Building Simple Brands, a digital book. I wrote the whole thing on a flight.
How many pages long is it?
About 150, 120.
You wrote 150 pages on one flight?
On Notes app, yeah. I was just in there. I don't know. So you get in the zone. And
were you on mushrooms?
Oh God, I'd love to be, but no, I've never done them. No, but I'm hearing people going mad at them at the moment. But I was just on it. I just got in the zone. No idea. Just staring at my phone, and then Amy said I'd been like doing it for 2 hours and just didn't even realise. But I just got into it. It was like it's a lot of this story, to be honest. So like a lot of that, but a lot of the mistakes and whatever. But I'm not plugging the book. I'm just saying. That's what I did. I feel like when you realise I do get motivated on planes as well. I don't know what it is about, because I was on my phone, but there was no Wi-Fi. I don't go on the Wi-Fi on there, so my brain's a lot more relaxed. I think
that just shows you the benefit of flow, though. Being in when you're in flow. I was working yesterday on content removal, and I was just completely in flow, and I achieved more in 2 hours than I would in a week.
Yeah,
because I was in flow, and people are like, well, that sounds stupid. Yeah, it might sound stupid, but it's so true that I've found that I can pump out work when I'm in that zone. But there's that level of brainwave that you get on when you're in it. Like you say, you writing a 150-page book, that would have took you 6 months any other time. But you just in flow.
It's concentrated work quality. I think this is why you go back to the story about the office and sat there and you've done your work in an hour, but to keep up appearances, you sit in the office and stare, and you think of the motivation that you get, or the lack of motivation, of just doing that and draining. And the same with the team. Like, anyone in the office is not forced to come in the office. We have a recommended 1 day a week where we all come in, ask questions, do meetings, all that sort of stuff. But there is no pressure for someone. So
you actually have an office then?
We have, we call it a base. So we have a base. We opened a couple of them, and none of them got used, so which is fine. But we have one which we do fulfillment out of Honu, which is based on the Wirral, which is central for the Merseyside Mancunian sort of people. People from London, they don't really come. Got someone from Birmingham comes up every now and again. But that's it. We do everything through Basecamp. We have an app called Basecamp, which we use, and a couple of video calls, mainly just chat through that. It's asynchronous working, which suits everybody. And
then everyone's location, everyone, even if you're an employee, everyone's got location freedom.
I love being hours ahead. So some people are like, it's not great for working because you're a few hours ahead. I absolutely love it because there's no back and forth. So it's like, I wake up, I've got their questions, I give my answers, throw my questions in, I put my phone down, and then the next day or whatever time, then check in.
Yeah, I think that's why Dubai is so good.
Yeah,
because Dubai is like, you're up at. That's why a lot of ecom guys live there, because like you're up, you get your deep work done, you put all your things to it, and then by midday your other people are waking up. So you kind of sorts out a lot of your problems for you.
Yeah,
because you're just ahead of it, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you were going to give some people some advice then on structuring themselves, from what you've learned from all the years in the ecom, the agencies, if you were going to give some people some advice on how to structure themselves now from the mistakes you've made, bearing in mind what we said about this property, like I feel there's something in you to say on this, talk into this, but I feel there's something that you can say on the need to buy these big purchases that people have. Like I'm trying to find the way to frame it, but
yeah, I think I know. Yeah, we were just talking before the podcast about rent versus buy sort of thing. So for us, like we've got we were renting a place, I said renting an apartment, and we were really happy there. And we listened to outside influence to a degree, saying, "Oh, you shouldn't rent. You should buy. You should do this." And we're like, "Yeah, no." And like, so we did. We ended up doing 2 years rent, and it obviously costs money. It's dead money, if you like. What's the cost on being happy? I don't know, but it's dead money. And we decided we saw this house, and we got the dog, and we only had a balcony before, we got a garden, all that sort of stuff. So we started looking at it again, listening a little bit, but we luckily got an opportunity with a developer who had planning permission, all that sort of stuff, and we could change the house itself. So we did that, and we deposit, say personal tax you pay on the if you deposit the mortgage, you pay your interest, pay your mortgage repayments. And next thing you know, we got all these bills, the taxes you pay to come together to buy this house, and we mortgaged it because we wanted to keep some free cash flow. We could have bought it, but we decided to keep the cash flow, so we're now paying interest and stuff on that. And we've ended up in a position where we could have rented that place for about 12 years for the same price as this house. And with me and Amy are just like, you think of what you can achieve with the cash, the capital, which we could have had. Obviously, pay a lot of tax to take it out of your holding company, put it into your personal to get the house itself. I would just, if there's a better way to do it, I don't know, but I'm glad we've got that on here, because I wanted people to understand what you said there, because obviously we talked about that specifically before the podcast. I will add, like, obviously again, like, I don't want to come across it like come from a position of privilege, but the thinking behind renting, I think, only works if you have a business or an asset which accumulates wealth, accumulates cash flow and income. So for like my parents, both one worked for a bank, one worked for a bank. My dad worked for Kellogg's their entire lives. Set salaries essentially. Renting is not the right thing for them, I believe, because they would accumulate wealth through buying a house and housing market going up. But for me, I've got a business which accumulates wealth. So that's growing in wealth itself. So why do I can look at other options like renting. I could buy certain properties which pay for the rent which I've got, and that suits that style of living. But the big one for us was we were renting and we were happy. Not unhappy, we're happy, but we were renting and we were happy. But we decided to then splurge a load of cash and pay a load of tax, and now we're in the house when we thought to ourselves, actually, we could have literally rented that for over a decade. And do you know what I mean? We didn't like the kitchen over there. We got a lovely kitchen here. We can't have like my wine storage over there. We've got wine storage here. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, like
I'm literally living the same. Yeah. I'm literally living through the same thing as what you've just spoken about.
Right.
Because I had the beautiful rented apartment overlooking the hinterland in the Gold Coast that I loved. I felt called to move, so I've come back to the place that I own outright, completely done, dusted the lot, furnished it, done the sort of made it the European base because I thought that sounds like a great idea. Then I sit there sometimes, and even though it's a great place and I'm grateful for everything that I have, I'm like, why'd you do that for?
Yeah.
Like why have you done that? That doesn't make any. Yeah. Why would you do that? And you listen to outside influence that kind of influence you into ways of thinking this and the other. But being nimble, being able to move and rent in all these different places is a much better idea if you've got any form of online business, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And you and me have both lived it.
The freedom, but the truth of it is we've lost the tax. We've not lost the money we've put into the house. The house will go up in value, so we'll get some back. We'll probably get into a position where we probably don't lose any money. But still, it's just that way of thinking. Like for some people, if they're in that position, we didn't need to move. We moved for material things. When we were happy with traveling, it was a lock and go. We could just leave the cats, all that sort of stuff. It was dead easy. People could get in and out. We'd give different people keys, looking after the house, all that sort of stuff. Apartment, sorry. Whereas now, we're in the house. It's a bit different way of living. It's just we made the call. It's done. We will probably keep this for a bit longer, rent it out, and then see where we are. But
that's essentially what I've done mine as, like the lock and go. But I still think, even when you think about that as an asset for me, it's still really too much cash tied up in something that you're locking and going from.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not the smartest of moves, really, in essence, when you could doing so much more with it. So I just think that everyone that listens to this should be mindful of both our collective experiences on that, and kind of maybe take heed on it, and then
that's it.
They can live in it, because it's not always having all these things I've found in life, and having all these what other people perceive as assets. It's just lots of other things to think about, like the cars, like you were talking about the cars, and you've probably got like 3 cars or
no,
more.
just one electric car, which the government were giving corporation tax benefits to. So the car cost me nothing. I hate cars now. So sorry, I don't hate cars. I love Ferraris and looking at them and all that sort of stuff, but they're not for me. I have a brand I love Bentley. I'd love to get a Bentley, but I know the petrol costs, and my friends have had Bentleys, the petrol costs. I'm just not interested. What I'm interested at the moment is experiences. So I have a philosophy of health, wealth, profile, and experiences, and none of those fit material things.
So explain profile. What's profile?
So profile for me used to be about stature or personal brand or something, and I'm really not interested in that anymore. My profile at the moment is reputation. So is my reputation good? Do people, my team think I'm good? My family happy with my appearances, all that sort of stuff. So it's me thinking about how present I am with other people. That's my profile now.
Right, and do you think that comes after you've got the fuck you money?
No, I think so. As it stands right now, we talk about this actually. Me and Amy is like, when is enough? Like, when is enough? Are we happy? And I think for me, when you start pushing and pushing, this is why I'm a profit over revenue person. When you start pushing and pushing and pushing revenue, you're starting to go into a position where you might get to a point you actually can't leave the company anymore. You can't go on holiday because it's too fragile. The margins are too small all of a sudden, or there's too many staff, or there's too much reliability on you. So I just try and keep it stress-free. Put freedom at like the main part. We can grow slow. There's things like, so this year we're going to go a little bit heavier on crafted, but not too heavy. We're not trebling turnover. We're just trying to increase maybe 30%, 40%, maybe 40%, but 30%. Do you know what I mean? It's not crazy stuff. But you know what? Define fuck you money to you might be different to me, might be different to entrepreneur, might be someone just starting out. Like all of those things, they just differ so much. For me, it's all about freedom. At what point, and you can do that. This is not an end. This is an ongoing thing. I think you can always fuck you money could be just always having money, bits of money coming in. It's not an end sale. It's not anything like that, because how many people get depressed after they sell the business? Like, I kind of, in a weird way, and I'll drop another mention, like people like George. I admire him so much.
George Heaton,
yeah. Sorry, from Represent, yeah. Because he's just obsessed with the business, loves the business, got a great philosophy on business. And I just can't help but admire that. There's no like, I'm building this because I'm going to sell it for $1 billion. It's just, I want to make an amazing business, amazing products, and go forever, if that's what he wants to do. But like, I admire that. So for me, it's like, I've gone from, I do want the case study. I want to build something mega for Crafted. That's my e-commerce trophy. But in terms of like money, I don't know. I just want to have enough money to travel, see my family, buy my dad a season ticket every year, go to nice restaurants, drink the best wine on earth. That's kind of it, to be honest.
How did you get into investing in wine?
Amy's dad taught me wine. He bought, God, I don't even know how long ago. I say 30 years, something like that, maybe 40 years. And he just bought loads of different wines. He was just into wine, sick of drinking pints, so started drinking wine early on.
Pints of wine.
Yeah, pints of wine now. Yeah, gonna need a pint of wine after this, like 2 hours. But yeah, so we just like he got into it, started drinking it anyway, and just like started learning about it. Got really into it. It is fascinating when you go into it. But I was so lucky I got to drink because he'd bought them so cheap. But like the price, so let's say he'd paid 50 quid back then for a bottle of wine that was worth 1,500 quid. But he'd had at the time, a load of it got nicked annoyingly. He had, let's say, 2,000 bottles, 3,000 bottles. and he'd open them all the time. So I was drinking, God, let's think of like Chateau Latour, don't know if like you know this one, but like First Growth Bordeaux wine, and it'd be 1978, which is like one of the best vintages, 78, 82, and he's opening it. I'm like, God, this is like thousands, and he's like, yeah, but I only paid 50 quid. And I'm getting to drink this as I'm on my journey of learning wine. It's getting to drink these incredible vintages, and I'm just like, and it's heaven. And like you have that, and you get why it's so expensive. You get it. But the thing which I really took on board is you paid 50 quid and it's 1500. Like you think there's not many things that go that sort of level.
Yeah, and it's safe.
Yeah. Well, the thing about being safe, if you know the producers to buy, it's faultless, and you leave it in the chateau in France or wherever you're buying it in California or.
So do they just leave that in the barrel or the bottle?
Well, yeah, so they do. You can buy wine on Premier, which is basically so it'll get picked and then it'll go on. So let's say stuff that was picked last year will go on 2023 this year, and it'll say, I think it'll say 22 or 23, I can't remember. It'll say 22, I think, but then it'll go on there, and then that's it. So you've got that bottle, and it'll be in the chateau stored. But at that point there, you might pay 100 quid for whatever wine. And that's called on Premier, so that's basically before it's gone to market, essentially. And from that point there, it starts to accumulate. So I bought, there's a wine called Cheval Blanc, some people will know it, it's an incredible wine. And they declassified from Saint-Emilion this year, in 2020. And I bought about 24 bottles, I think, of that vintage. It's declassified, so it's historic now. So all of a sudden, that price of that's jumped massively. I just got lucky with when I bought it. But that wine there is a guarantee, because it's so popular. It's guaranteed to go up. You just got to wait. Some people aren't prepared to wait. So I say I've put about 500,000 into wine.
So you put £500,000 into wine this year?
Last year, over about 14 months going back. I've not done any this year, but only a couple. Only a couple of wines.
Just shows you the power of e-commerce when you can go and put move £500,000 into wine.
I can sell that wine today for $750 though. So it accumulates. If you buy it right, it accumulates really quickly. Wine outperformed watches, crypto, any stock investments I've got. It outperformed them all because it is starting to get busier now. There's big influencers starting to put like good bottles in there now and good producers. It's definitely improving, but for me, so that I got an understanding. I know where to buy it. I know the price it should be. I know how to store it. I know the brands, or the chateaus which will develop in value, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So it's one of my hobbies, if you like. So I'm in the game. I know. So that's why that would accumulate. You know, if a novice went and just decided to buy loads of wine, they could lose money quickly because they don't know how what it should be or the price should be paying, or they don't look at a bottle and go, actually the ullage on this bottle is fucked, like, because ullage is basically like how empty it is from the top, if you like. So if it's quite low down, it means it's a lot of air's got into the wine, all that sort of stuff. So it could oxidize, it'd be spoilt basically. There's all these things that you can look at and know it's a good price, bad price to buy. But this is fun. I love this. I like.
Yeah, I could see.
As
soon as like Ecom, I thought you were lit up, but then when you started talking about wine, it's like your whole face changes again.
Yeah,
like.
The downside of wine though is that you can drink the profits, so it's you just got
not £500,000.
Watch me. It depends if we go. Well, this will happen. So I know this will happen. So in the future, I'll either make money or I won't make money. I think I'll make money, but like if we make it, then I'll get to the point I'll be like, I paid 100 quid for this. I don't care that it's $2,500.
Yeah.
And there'll be somebody else. There'll be a new Danny going, you can't drink that. It's $2,500 a bottle. It's $3,000 of 20.
But you only live once, Danny boy.
Yeah,
you only live once, and you.
Well, my plan is to go. So there's a producer called Romani Conti, and it's dead hard to get. You can only get an allocation of say 2 bottles for their main domain, Romani Conti. And that is, I think it's up there with the most expensive, either the most expensive or second. It's about 25k a bottle when it reaches like maturity. A good price to drink. So you get that. If you get that wine, no matter what, I can pay $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, whatever. If you get a bottle of that, you store it right or store it in a safe place. You know that you can sell for that sort of level. So that's like a tip, but you need 8 to 10, whatever, to get it. I saw one in France. There's a bottle of it in France, and she was selling it for 8. I said, how much for that? And she said, I don't know, about €8,000 or something. I said, I'll buy it. And she said, no, that's my retirement. She wouldn't sell it. But she didn't. She had her version of the price was 8,000. She knew it would accumulate. So, yeah.
It's amazing how you've used the e-commerce money and you've diversified it into things that you're interested in, but also things that, you know, protect the capital as well.
Yeah.
You know, that in essence is what you're doing. Mate, what a podcast. If there is one piece of advice that you could leave, one pearl of wisdom that you could leave this audience with from all your years of e-commerce for everyone that's on the come up that wants to do something in life, what would that one pearl of wisdom be?
So when I've done these before, I've always said go for profit first, but I feel like it's getting a little bit boring. Like you kind of get that message. Something that I'm doing at the moment, which kind of I feel encapsulates my whole philosophy and kind of the story that we've talked about, is I've started writing down 3 things. So I know my end goal or my next checkpoint. So if you say how do we make CRAFTD the biggest men's jewelry brand in the world? So let's say like that could be an example of a big goal. And then every day I just do literally on a notepad 1, 2, 3. I might actually make a book for myself on this, so I just don't have to keep writing the same thing. But I'll write the goal at the top, and then I'll write, say, my personal goals. So like, let's say, make my family millionaires, or whatever you like, personal goals you were trying to achieve. And then I'll put 1, 2, 3, and then I'll sit here very first thing in the morning, and I won't get my laptop out. I used to do that. I won't get my laptop out or anything. And I'll just have my coffee, and I'll go, what 3 things can I do today to move myself closer to that? And that's it. And what I've found is if I finish those 3 things, it's like a pressure just comes off you. I've done 3 things. I didn't have to work 20 hours. I didn't have to go and do like all these meetings and all this sort of like. So one of those things was you podcast, doing this podcast. I'm talking about CRAFTD. It's moving it towards getting a bit of PR, whatever you want to call it. Moved it towards fame, you know, towards a goal. And then you just put these things on there. And what I found that's done for me mentally is it's sometimes I'd feel stressed and be in a bad mood. I've not been in a bad mood once this year so far. Maybe Amy will disagree, but I feel like I've been happier because I've got no time pressure at all. It's like these 3 things need to be done by the end of the day. That's it. And I could do them in 2 hours. And then all of a sudden it's just, I'm there for the team. I'm there for question and answers. I don't feel like a conversation's taking me away from my work, because I'd find that I'd go in the office sometime and someone would talk at me for like 15 minutes. I'm like, I've got stuff to do. Come on, like, you know, you find yourself like stressed a bit. But with the 3 things, you know, I've got time to do all these 3 things. I make sure I get myself in the gym at least like 5 times a week. Try not to be unhealthy, all that sort of stuff, and try to like focus on health a little bit more. But the tip is to write the main goal and do 3 things towards them every day. And I feel like you get yourself into a good like pattern of motivation and momentum.
Mate, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm honestly, guys, I hope you got as much value out of that as I have by sitting here being present with that conversation. I swear down, there's so many things in that you can take and implement in your business. Some of the things, I'm just bamboozled by the amount of content in it. We've talked about everything in there. Honestly, we've talked about everything. But that is Danny Buck, and obviously you guys can follow him, the Danny Buck, on Instagram.
That's it.
The Danny Buck on Instagram and Twitter as well. Obviously, follow him for all his guidance he writes out on, you know, on building brand and everything like that, because you want to get some of this knowledge into your mind. And, you know, especially some of you guys that are growing e-commerce brands, you're going to want to take yourself further. Listen to men like him, because he's actually making sizable profit margins in the space. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Do me a favor, like and subscribe on every channel. I think on YouTube we're at 92% unsubscribed that are continually watching it, so I'd love to get that down. So if you're on YouTube now, go and hit that subscribe button. Hit subscribe on all the other platforms. I appreciate all of you as always, and much love.
Guys, do me a solid favor, drop a comment below this video and let us know who you want on the podcast next.